I would like to introduce you to Dinky. This is Dinky. I don't often call my quads names, but this guy is just Dinky. That is his name, and he answers to it. This was sent to me by Banggood 3 or 4 days ago, and it's been chucking it down ever since. So I've only really been able to fly Dinky in the evenings and a little bit indoors. So I've been kind of waiting for daylight when I can sort of make this video and give you a judgment. So this is the Diatone GT-R239 Rabbit, which is basically a 2-inch little quad with a plastic frame and prop guards. And everybody sort of seems to be saying it's for beginners, which I don't doubt. But I love this little thing. And the reason why I love it is because all the components are inside it, and as you can see, mine's full of mud and whatever, are components that I know and are familiar with. So we've got a Runcam Swift up front, micro version. Attached to the back of that, we've got the Runcam TX200, which you can change the channels via smart audio. However, you need to remember that the TX200 is a bit odd, and although it will switch between 25 and 200, that switching is via channels. So some channels are on 25 milliwatt and others are on 200 milliwatt, and which channel you choose will basically decide whether you're running at 200 or 25. So check out the Runcam website to see which ones they are. It also comes locked to 25 milliwatts, and to unlock it there's a little button here that you basically just have to hold down when you power the quad on for 10 seconds, and then it unlocks it. The rest of the stuff is well known to me. So we've got the little Mamba F4 flight controller and corresponding ESC, which is rated for 25 amp burst, and I know that well because it's the one that I'm using in my Acrobat, so it's not going to have any issues running these little tiny motors, which are 1105, and I think they're 5500 kV, well, I can't actually see them, they're so small. What are they? Yeah, 5500 kV. And we've got a little dipole antenna, and with mine I've just attached an XM Plus receiver, and when the quad arrives it's already set up for S-Bus, and there's a little plug poking out, so you just snip those wires off and solder them to your receiver. I've set my antennas up in this kind of slightly odd way, reminiscent of Mr. Steele's antennas, but I'm going to change them and run them as I normally would do, from the bottom outwards, because I'm getting relatively poor range. But all of these things sort of work together. We've got little Gemfan Hulky 1940 props, and the quad itself will run on 2, 3 or 4S LiPo batteries, and I've been running mine mostly on these little Tattoo 450 75Cs. Now these aren't particularly great batteries, so if you can get hold of some GMB 550s or even 450s, that's probably the way to go. But these little guys flying normally give me 2.5 to 3.5 minutes. So why do I love it so much? The reason why I love it so much is the frame, which the frame is just seems to be indestructible. This thing has bounced off my neighbour's roof onto concrete, hit trees, and because it's sort of enclosing the props, you don't really have to worry about hitting anybody. So I sort of bumped into all sorts of stuff with no damage, and because it's so safe, the other night I was flying along the road and decided to fly in through my son's bedroom window when he was getting ready for sleep. It's just an absolute laugh. Now I also bought the 2-inch carbon frame because this little guy comes in a number of different configurations. So you can get the 2-inch plastic frame version like this. There's also a 2-inch carbon frame version and a 2.5-inch carbon frame version, and they all have exactly the same components. Now I got the 2-inch carbon frame to go along with mine because I thought I'd at some point run it on 4S, but I'd avoid buying the 2-inch carbon frame. It might make the quad handle a little bit better because it's got less flex than this plastic one. But the issue with it is, as soon as you put 4S batteries on a quad this small, what you gain in speed from the props is negated by the weight of a heavier 4-cell battery. So even on the carbon frame, I wouldn't bother running 4S. I'd just run a 3S LiPo. And because of that, and because how much fun you can have with this frame being so sturdy and crash resistant and you know, relatively safe, it kind of makes the 2-inch frame, the carbon one, a bit sort of a moot point in my view, so I wouldn't even bother getting one. If you want additional performance, get the 2.5-inch frame, because the thing that's holding back the performance of something like this is simply the prop size. So 2.5-inch will gain you quite a sizable chunk of performance. Speaking of performance, it does what it does, and it does it absolutely fine. It's not particularly fast, hasn't got a huge amount of punch or anything like that, but it has enough that you can sort of have fun in sort of smaller areas, parks, you know, proximity around trees. You know, you can do inverted stuff and bits and bobs. You know, it's not going to blow you away, but that is kind of the reason why I love it so much. Just that you can have fun with it anywhere. And that was kind of what I was hoping for with the Mobula. But the Mobula, to me, was really flawed in just how brittle and fragile it was, albeit there's a new V2 frame. Whereas this guy is just like a little tank. It never ever falters. So, you know, if you're looking to get into the hobby and you want a little quad to fly at a park or a local field or something like that, this is perfect. You know, if you're a newcomer and you want to sort of start flying acro, then again, this is perfect because it flies like a much bigger quad. You know, and if you're an experienced pilot who's used to flying 5 and 6 inches like I do, and you want something just to have a bit of fun with up and down your street, then again, it kind of, to me, fits the bill. It can be flown indoors as well, although if you've got a house like mine in the UK, which is full of smallish rooms, clearly it's a little bit big to fly indoors comfortably. I mean, if you compare it to this, so that's a 6 brushless whoop, and this is the Emax Hawk, which is not hugely bigger. In fact, the footprint's pretty much the same, but obviously this guy is a little bit heavier, but it will run absolutely fine indoors on sort of 450, 500 more 2S cells, and I've set mine up with Project Mockingbird as well. So all in all, I haven't really got anything negative to say about it. If you're looking for a fun little, you know, mooch around in your local park or something like that, it's as perfect as you're ever going to find. It does come in a number of different versions besides the 2-inch, the 2.5-inch in carbon, all of which have the same components. You can also get it in a 3-inch with much bigger motors. All the rest of the components are the same, but I believe they're releasing it with a TBS Unify 800 milliwatts VTX, and you can also get the newer versions with Runcam splits in it. Although the price hike for adding the split seems huge. This is about 85 quid, 88 quid, and the version with the split in it is sort of 155, 160 quid. So for my mind, you'd be better off getting the cheaper one and buying yourself a split separately if you're happy to add it, and then you're essentially getting a free Runcam Swift. T-Motor have also released basically a clone of this, working in collaboration with Diatone, and their one is exactly the same in every way, but it just has T-Motor motors, and instead of 1105 they're 1106, but I think they're 5000 kV versus 5500, so for all intents and purposes probably pretty much the same. So yeah, I absolutely love mine. The one huge flaw with this quad is it comes with the worst setup I've ever seen. Major issue with tunes around this guy is you need to change the throttle curve in betaflight, because otherwise, to get this thing to hover, you know, you're up at 50, 55, 65% throttle, which is just makes it really uncomfortable. So what I've done is sort of added in a sort of a curving betaflight, which just means that these motors have got a lot more power at the bottom end, and then obviously it gradually tails off at the top end, which means that it's much more flyable and much more controllable. As I said, thanks to Banggood for sending it, but for me, it's exactly what I wanted. Yeah, and just a ton of fun to fly. So well done, Diatone. Awesome little quad. Don't expect the world from it in terms of performance, but it does everything it needs to do. Cheers, guys.